Hey, Hosers Maybone here, and we are doing a on Nuance Nonsense about our travels and adventures and excitement and all of that stuff. And when someone says something that who's not me, echo, so don't say anything because I'm busy and forgot to change my output. I have like 5 things. This is definitely something that Kaden does a lot more of than me or anyone else here. So Neil will be talking about that, although I do have and travels that I have had. I don't go very far, but I go to and I have some planned. And then we have Laura and David. So yeah, see what they have to say, talk about. So
So I
let's
just have
get
a
this
few
going.
things. I'm mostly going to talk about my hiking trips because my biggest form of my biggest form of adventure is hiking in the outdoors, getting outside, things like that. So but one thing that I wanted to bring up before I went into my most recent travels is that when we talk about adventure, it's a really broad topic, and anything and everything can be an adventure. It just depends on the mindset that you have behind it, and the way that that most people see it is that it's this, like, it has to be some big production where you go outside and you go into dangerous situations. But the way that I see it is just that life itself is the biggest adventure that can ever be done. Every new day brings something new, and every day brings an opportunity to see new things and to learn more and to become a better person. So just keep that in mind. But with that said, I'm going to talk about my recent trek up to Mount Ogden that I did just yesterday. It's fall here in Utah, and this was a shot that I snapped up near the summit of Mount Ogden. Um, it's actually a mountain that's just about 10 miles away from my house, but it really does seem a world away. That shot in particular was taken on top of a 7,000-foot summit, and looking off into the distance, that snow-covered mountain is about 11,000 feet high. And at that level of elevation, snow starts really early. It
Uh,
starts really early, and it really makes for some amazing scenery because you get to see fall and winter all at once. And I just think it's absolutely breathtaking. This is one of my favorite hiking photos that I've taken in a long time.
Nice.
Hold on, I'm going to show a few more.
I just want to say that
All
if
these are from
anyone was
yesterday.
getting, just hang on a second. I just want to say if anyone was getting an echo for whatever reason, my
Oh,
output didn't change, so I just fixed that. I apologize.
wait, could you not hear me for the first segment, or was it kind of an
We
echo?
could hear you.
There probably would have been an echo because I tried to change my input from my speakers to my headphones for whatever reason. Change. Um.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. It's
Uh,
it's just that I
Technical
just
difficulties.
yeah I have it fixed now though.
Wait, one quick second. There was a siren going outside and it's driving me absolutely insane. Could you give me just 1 second to close my windows? I apologize for all the technical difficulties and me stumbling over my words because I'm so excited about this topic and all of that. The echo. It just goes to show that, podcasting itself is an adventure and we never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But now I'm frozen.
I don't.
Hey, you seem fine.
Okay, I'm unfrozen. Okay, cool. I was going to share a few more photos though from my hike yesterday. This one actually became my background on Twitter. This was absolutely, I would say, the most amazing shot that I've ever taken. And I've been hiking since I was 2 years old. But this was the most amazing shot because the snow and the lighting and just the brilliance of the sky, like the dark clouds and the white puffy clouds and like the light and shadow, it just made it so amazing. Literally, my jaw dropped when I saw this. And like, as beautiful as the photo is, it really doesn't do it justice as much as actually being there did. My jaw dropped. And I literally couldn't say anything for 10 seconds. It literally took my breath away. Just the beauty of this scene.
Oh, like Berlin then.
Pretty much. Yeah, take my breath away.
Oh, good. I'm glad someone got that joke.
I get the reference.
Okay.
I'm an 80s child.
I know the
child
song,
of
but I don't know
80s.
who did
So,
it. I just really like Top Gun.
It's a band called Berlin. Called Berlin.
I just really like Top Gun because it has, fast shooty planes. I like things that are, something in shooting. Fast shooting.
I respect that. I have a deep respect for that. But yeah, that photo, it was like the Berlin song that it took my breath away. And this one was another one that was just from yesterday. And if you look closely near the top left of the screen, you can see a bit of the snow cap and just the light striking that particular section of the mountain, but nowhere else. It's just like, this is why I get out there. This is why, to me at least, it's the ultimate form of adventure because you work hard. Like, I had to climb a good 4,000 feet out of the valley. And it was cold, it was windy, it was raining and snowing off and on. It was a miserable trek. But once you finally made it to the summit and you got to see that with your own eyes, it was just like, it all became worth it. It all became worth it. Like all of the mud slogging through and the cliff faces that I had to scramble up and all of that, it just became so worth it. And to me, this is what keeps me going. Like, I have a lot of passions in life and I have a lot of things that I love, but outside of David, who is my number one love, this kind of adventure, it just really does it for me. It really makes me feel alive. And it gives meaning to my life.
With something like that so high there, it's not surprising why the Air Force base below is called Hill.
Yeah, really.
Indeed. Indeed. I'm surprised that you've heard of Hill AFB. I live like 2 miles away from it. I'm really surprised that you've heard of it.
Oh, I've heard of it. I heard of it in the 80s when I was a kid. I'm into planes,
wow.
so...
Oh, that makes sense.
F-15s were flying out there in the 80s. Now they've got F-35s there and A-10s.
We do. And there was a Hill Air Force Base museum, and it's just got all these old planes. It is the coolest fetching thing on the planet. And it's actually the second largest repository of old planes in the United States outside of White-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, which is where I spent most of my childhood, was in Dayton, Ohio. So I've been to both of them. And
that's weird. I would have thought, what's it called? The one at Tucson.
Tucson has a lot of them too. I actually lived in Tucson for a while too. So, and I've been to that museum as well.
Pima.
But that's
is it Pima?
It's a Pima something. I think it was renamed after a person very recently. It was like the last 5 years that they did that. But that's one of my...
I think it's Pima Air Museum. They've got the really, really rare stuff there as well, because with the AMARC, they basically take all the old planes when they've stopped using them, they just line them up in long, long rows, and then eventually they scrap them.
Yeah, they keep them in mothballs for a while in case they...
Yeah.
And
yeah,
like, okay, we don't...
Yeah,
I actually... speaking of which, just... we actually had the snowbird doing stuff for our air show. Got to see them flying around. And there are like military acrobatics. They're like the Americans. I don't know, but we call ours the birds, which is kind of a Canadian. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, that's like that's the most Canadian thing ever. Is it okay if I talk a bit more and then?
Oh no, go ahead. I was just
because I
saying
had just one more thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we were talking about planes, and
No problem.
that's a recent thing.
Oh, it's okay. I just wanted to finish talking about yesterday's outing because again, in
Go
my
ahead.
gosh, 30 years of hiking now. Gosh, I'm that old, but 30 years. This was the most amazing sight that I've seen. Was just yesterday. This was on the descent, and you can see the leaves changing. And if you look into the background a little bit, there was that mighty snow-capped mountain that's just below the clouds.
Yeah.
And if you look into the background of that picture, you can see it. And the actual summit is kind of obscured by the clouds, but if you just look, there was that contrast of winter and fall. And it's so close, but yet it seems so far away. And that it almost made my heart stop. It was so amazing. And I have one more photo to go, and then I'm going to get to Laura. But where was it? There was this photo as well that I got of the summit of Mount Ogden just as I was getting up to the final approach up to Malin Summit. And that was just, this was such an amazing shot, I think, as well, just because of the clouds. I feel like the clouds and snow made the shot.
Yeah, that's.
And this is a mountain that I've done. Yeah, and I've done this mountain probably 20 times, but just to yesterday, just the way that it was then with just the variance in the seasons and the clouds, it really just gave me a whole new perspective on the mountain and on hiking in general. And I can't say enough about it, but if I don't stop talking, I'm never going to shut up. And we have 3 other wonderful people on the show today. So I just wanted to pass it off to Laura. I know she had a few things she wanted to bring up about her adventures and excitements. And then we'll get to May and David.
Okay, well, I was across the room trying to find some pictures and finally found them just as you mentioned it. Well, I've got a couple of hobbies that I like. I'm into aircraft. My parents were in the Air Force, so I grew up with that kind of thing. So I do model airplanes. Although I'm sort of tapering that off a little bit because I have more model airplane kits than I could ever build in my lifetime. So as a result, I've focused more on the railways because I'm into trains. I have been. So my parents were in the Air Force, as I mentioned, and every couple of weeks they would send. I would go. So I went to boarding school. Every couple of weeks they'd send me back home, and you can only, it's 5 hours on a train. Well, as a 14-year-old, you can only look out the window for so long or listen to a Walkman, which had 4 batteries in it, and it lasted for about 45 minutes for each set. So there wasn't a lot of couple of sets of batteries, and that's it. That's that over. So you can read a book or look out the window. You just get bored. And I was complaining about it one day, and someone said, "Why don't you get the train numbers?" And so I started train spotting. That's basically it. And it's taken me all over the country. At first I didn't really know what I was looking at, and then I learned, and then I gave it up for about 6 months, and then I went to a different boarding school, and there was a kid there who he was into trains more than me. He got magazines and things like that. So So he got me into getting magazines and learning more than scratching numbers off a book. It was like, this is what they really like, the sound of an engine, thrashing away out of a station or something like that. So and as the real railway, so the railways privatized in 1996, and the real railway became a bit boring, a bit I don't know how to describe it. When the railways were in 1955, the government decided that they were going to get rid of steam engines, replace them with diesels and electrics. And there were lots of companies that made very good steam engines but had no experience with diesels or electrics. And so they threw them, work, but they weren't really that good. So you ended up with a kind of mixed bag of all sorts of different designs. And gradually over time, so the good ones stayed around, the rubbish ones didn't. So a lot of the stuff I like is from the late 50s into, through the mid 60s. But I also quite like the new ones as well. So, but as the real railway was privatized, and the old trains were replaced by new ones, it became a little bit synthetic for me. So I started focusing on the railway modeling instead. And so I do some really, as I've got older, my skills have got better. And so I do some very detailed work. So I'll show you a couple of things. So, and I'll repaint things and rebuild things and modify them. And unfortunately, it takes a second for this to come on, wake up. There it goes. So there's an example of just a local train. These things go past where I live all the time now, although they've changed the color scheme. But I think I was the only first person in the country to paint one of those in that livery. And you can see this is the stages of me painting it, finishing it, assembling it, and that's it on the layout that I've got at the moment, though it's going to be replaced by something better.
Okay.
At the moment, I've got a YouTube channel where I'm upgrading a model,
Nice.
and on the roof they've got these rotating fans, and just to give you an idea, that is about the size of a fingernail.
Wow, that is amazing.
And it's 13 layers of brass all layered up.
Yeah.
Your models are so intricate, like so intricate.
Yeah, she showed us how she did that. It's like, I'm like, I could never do that.
Yeah,
I mean, know I could never do that. And I'm also a big railway buff. I absolutely love trains, but I could never have the patience nor the talent nor the steadiness of hand to be able to make the kind of models that Laura does.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's the steam engines, but
see, I'm more of a diesel person.
Yeah. Now you see, steam engines don't really do anything for me because they're, they got rid of them on the railways in the UK, other than some preserved ones. They got rid of those 6 years before I was born, so I don't have the emotional link to them. So it's just an old train from the past, and diesel electrics are better in every way that's measurable.
Okay. Well, I mean,
I'm with you.
I'm going to be talking about ships that were built in like the 40s. So you know where I go. Where you can probably take a guess at where I'm going with that.
But
I totally get it.
But the locomotive I showed a moment ago, so that's one that that I just painted. I modified it a little tiny bit, but mainly I painted it. Whereas the roof fan and the body side grille, I'm now doing some more detailed work. So this is an example of one, similar type. And if I just use my camera software, the body side grills are now deep. So, instead of just being surface, they're quite deep by comparison. And on the roof, that's the roof fan underneath. It's a bit hard to tell because the. But
that is so amazing.
Yep.
Hey, you hearing feedback as well?
I am hearing a bit.
Is it me?
It might be me. Let me adjust some things.
Yeah. Usually it doesn't happen with me because I've got a good system.
I'm not hearing the feedback anymore.
No. So not only do I do modeling, but I've written as well.
Oh, nice.
Apologies for the blanked out bit, but that's a dead name. So
yeah, no, I'm not.
But yeah, I've written 4 magazine articles over the time. And this one here was taking so there's a small van type of wagon, and they were built in the 50s, that kind of time. They had vacuum brakes, and in fact, let me find a picture of one because it's easier to explain with a reference point than it is without. So
that's so amazing.
So what happened was they had these short wheelbase vans. So let's find departmental vans. Right. So as soon as it opens, takes a moment for my hard drive to remember. I have tens of thousands of photos, so it will. There we go. Okay. So this is the type of van. It's got a short wheelbase, which means it can go around the tight Ministry of Defense once. So what happened was they had a bunch of these, and they took about 300 of them, and they modified the suspension. So if you look at the suspension system here, and you compare it to vans and VEA. So there we go. So if you look, you can see the suspension system is different.
Wow. It is.
So when after they'd finished doing these, they took some other types of wagons and they fitted the same suspension system and fitted them with air brakes, and they created these. So what I did was, and it's a bit rubbish compared to what I do now, but you can just about see there where the old bit was. I've just scraped away the original frame and then put the new ones on.
Well, can I say something?
Yeah.
If that's rubbish, then I'm sure that your best work is going to absolutely make my jaw drop, because that's already amazing quality.
Yeah, really.
Well, it's more that you can. It's the fact that you can see the old spring where the old springs were that makes me say it's rubbish.
I mean, I wouldn't even know what to look for, and I think that goes for Kaden too.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So this was my second article, which is it's a flat wagon with stanchions on it, and then just some old bits of rail. So this is where they've gone and taken up the old track and put some new down, and then they chop up the old rail and lift it up and stick it on the wagons to take it away, and it gets reused in a siding somewhere or something.
Nice.
And you can see the straps, so it's like tarpaulin straps going over the top. these are just pieces of brass that I've gone and curved and clipped on.
Okay.
And just to give you an idea, these little, the ratchet points where you rotate it to pull it tight. This is a piece of 1 millimeter rod. You can imagine it's tiny. You can see, and all I've done is I've just taken a piece of brass and do a 90-degree bend on it twice, and then put a piece of rod between, and then insert it into this. And all the yellow stuff here I've fabricated out of bits of plastic. Now I'm not very happy on these pictures now, because I've since modified it. Because this is code 100 rail, which is quite tall, whereas I've replaced it with code 75, which is a quarter short, smaller. So I've redone it and made it better.
That's amazing.
And then there were these ones, which are so it's a part of the same train, but different types of wagons. And again, it's the load. So rails on top of a flat wagon with the straps holding it down, but the rail is too long for the wagon, so they use these runner wagons, so that it doesn't foul, so you can have two next to each other. So when I get the other two wagons finished, there'll be another one of these at the end of this, and then another one of those at the end of that. So it'll be 5 wagons in total. And if you compare this wagon here, that's the real one. And likewise, this one here on the top picture is the one at the bottom. And again, these numbers, each individual one was put on, and they're about 1 millimeter tall, those numbers. So they're tiny.
Yeah.
Wow. And that just takes such a steady hand. It takes such a steady hand to get that
Well,
right.
I didn't write the number on the retransfers you can get, but I had to cut and splice and modify in order to stick each individual one. It's very difficult. It's the reason why, if you look closely, they're a little bit wonky. The 4 is sort of bent on one side.
Is to sell yourself short at all, because that still takes big skill, and it takes a big steady hand to be able to do that. There was also one other thing I wanted to mention, because outside of adventure, trains are probably my biggest interest.
Right.
I talk about them all the time on my Twitter account, and I talk about trains all the time. But your models have honestly been the best, the most quality models that I've seen so far in my life. Because I've seen a lot of model trains. I've seen a lot of people who just do the basics. And then I've seen people who do the extra mile. But yours just goes beyond that. Like, you have such a really precise attention to detail that very few people have. And really put out some amazing work.
Oh, this was the last article I wrote. By the way, thank you very much. I'm not very good at taking compliments, because I don't want to sound like I'm being big-headed and things like that. It's always a weird thing for me. But so this was the last one I've done. So there were 3 coaches that this is a buffet car, so where you get your food. And it's not a great buffet car. I mean, it's literally a fridge and a counter. And some drinks under a shelf or something. So it's the kind of place where you get some sandwiches, and maybe they might have a microwave on there and warm it up for you. But so there were only other 3 that were done, and I wrote a little bit about which ones are, and each individual one is different, either in paint or color scheme, or the components underneath. So, and I've added extra added extra parts to it as well. So what you'd have vacuum brake trains where they suck the air out to pull the brakes off, and then air brakes where they push it, and then you just get a change in pressure, and that will put the brakes on. So for a vacuum brakes one, they've got this big piston underneath, the vacuum piston, and it sucks it in, and that's where it releases the brakes. And then there's air braked ones where there's a tank and so there's a small tank there and an air brake distributor, and all this part here I've built myself. So it's heavily modified. I've also put steps on it. There's little steps there.
Amazing work.
These little steps on the end, the extra plugs and cables and all those sorts of things. So yeah.
This is so intricate. One other thing I wanted to say is that the livery on that train has a very 80s feel. And I'm wondering.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like it definitely evokes that era.
Yeah. Now, do you remember the van I told you about, and they took the suspension off?
Mm-hmm.
So this is my model of one of those.
Oh, nice.
I've actually got a pair of them. So this is the newer color scheme, and that's the old one. And you can see the weathering that's gone into it.
Wow.
And as a modeler, I've come across a lot of people who don't understand things. They end up, so many things. They effectively have a clean looking thing, and then they go and paint some dirt on it to make it weathered. But what a lot of people don't realize is that things like the red, the color gets bleached in the sun, thanks to the UV rays. And so, and a lot of people don't understand color theory. So just to give you an idea, and I'm going to ask, don't be worried if you get it wrong. This, a lot of people do. So if you got blue paint and you want to make it lighter, what would you add to it? What color would you add to it?
White, if at all possible.
Yeah, right. But what happens if you do it with red?
Wouldn't adding red to blue just make it purple?
No. I mean, if you add, if you got red and you want to make it lighter, what would you add?
Pink instead.
Yeah. Now, if we look at this kind of wagon here, this is one. It's exactly the same color scheme, and you can see here's a weathered one. It's not pink. It's still orange. Red, but it's faded.
It looks orange.
Like it's faded to orange is what it looks like to me, but it's still red. You're absolutely right that it's still red.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a fairly fresh paint job on it. Let's see if we can find one that's that one's looking quite weathered. It does look orangey. It isn't orangey red, but you can see how you got bits. They look almost pink, but it's still not pink.
Mm-hmm.
And what it comes down to is you don't add another primary color. You add gray. What you do is you take a neutral gray. And neutral gray is everything from black to white. It hasn't got any blue in it or green in it that will give it a pigment change. It's just between black and white. And if you take a pale gray and you add it to the red, you're not changing the color, you're changing the light intensity. If I flick on just a simple way to explain it, if I put on just Microsoft Paint here, and if I take red and if we look to edit it, then you go like this, and you can see it fades to gray and white eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing is you're not changing the color, you're changing the light intensity. And so,
wow.
So that's what I've done with the red, and that's just the red. Now for the gray, you can see how patchy it is, where the paint has flicked away and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a technique that I learned from aircraft modeling, because the Japanese Navy in World War II, they had a lot of paint planes. They came off the factory, they painted them green, and then they sent them into service. But after a few months, tropical temperatures, tropical, salt water, getting on it, people climbing on it to stick bullets or fuel in it, gradually the paint would be flicked away. And so the technique that I've learned is the same one. So what I do is I start with a lighter gray underneath, where you can see where my little magnifying glass is.
Mm-hmm.
So I start with a lighter gray, but I do like a couple of 3 colors, and I do like spirals and things like that. So it's not flat, and it needs to have changes in the color in it.
So
So I do that. And then what I do is I take water and salt and I mix it into like a toothpaste kind of texture. And then I use a paintbrush and I stipple it on the places where I want the paint to come off. So, you can imagine here and around. So anything that's not dark is where I've taken the paint, the salt water mixture. And then when that's dry, I airbrush it with the dark gray that I need, what the color will properly be. And then when that's dry, I take a toothbrush and stick it under the tap and just scrub lightly until the salt dissolves. And then it leaves this patchy part underneath.
Oh my gosh, that is just so amazing.
And when that's all done, then I can start putting the decals on. Now these ones here, so this kind of van it's used for Ministry of Defense stuff, so War Department kind of thing. So it would be carrying something like explosives, depth charges, grenades, all sorts of things. And so as a result, they put the stickers on to tell you what's inside it in case there's a fire or something. If it's something that's toxic, you don't want firemen going in with a water hose. So they put the stickers on to warn what they are and the types of explosives. Well, when they change things, they'll just rip the sticker off and stick another one on. And these stickers, when I got them, they were the only place you can get them, and they were really rare and hard to find. So I decided that I would try to make the most of them. So if we can imagine, you can see this little diamond here, so it would have been one of those yellow ones. And I've just painted on some white and just, done it in the same shape, but lightly. So I've just like stippled it on so it looks like it's just the paper underneath, the orange, the sticky film still left behind. It's like when you buy a DVD or something like that and you pull it off and you end up with this, just doesn't all come off. They're not going to spend ages trying to get it off and get it clean and everything. No, they'll just rip it off. Oh, it's not all coming off. Well, don't worry about it. Most of it's off. So for this one, I've gone and taken the decal and I've gone and cut the edges off and then stippled it on. And then if we look at the other side, if you remember, you can see I've gone and taken the 2 side pieces and put the bit in the middle, which is really just on the other side.
Nice.
Does that make sense? If you look there,
It does.
It's got a left and a right part, but the middle's missing. And this one, the middle's there, but the left and the right bit's missing.
Okay.
There was one thing, Laura, thank you for showing us this. This is absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
I do get A in May's segment.
Okay. So yeah, I don't terribly get out a whole lot, but I have had some interesting travels around my province. Of course, I've never been out of Ontario here, but the amount of distance I have to cover to get out of Ontario actually quite a bit. So a couple of years ago on Canada's birthday, well, at least a year, I went see the I went to fighting a ship, Royal Canadian Navy, and that is the HMCS Haida G60, or reclassified later. And now that I'm sitting up again, that is, I guess it's backwards for everybody else, but that is what I would have rather had a G63 hat because that's where she did all of her really important stuff. And I would love to see her forward to World War II creation. They reconfigured her for a different role post-war and added a bunch of stuff. So they have stuff because you can't just add shit to the top of a ship without making it top heavy, and it will capsize. Um, but enough of that. I do have some pictures. Excuse seeing me before I started transitioning. Like a year or two before I even came out. So yeah, you're not that I care. So all right, there we go. So yeah, this is a picture that I took from the bridge tower of Haida, and that there right in front is I think it's a 4-inch quick firing gun, 100 400. The original guns that were there were a pair of quick firing 120 millimeter or 4.7-inch. Um, and actually, that's the same size. That's the same gun caliber that's used on like a lot of main battle tanks. Okay, although the shells that the Haida would fire are heavier, being that she's a 2,500 ton, well, 2,000. Yeah, I think she's a 2,500 ton destroyer, not a 75-ton battle tank. Um, that I really liked being on her. I've also got this from the bow. Now, actually, this for the A turret here. Um, that actually still fires. I believe fire blanks out of it every while.
Yeah.
The We have the Canadian flag up here. I translated what these pennants on the that would be the starboard side, or that'd be the port side here. I translated what that says. I can't remember exactly what the translation is, but it's just Ida's radio. Like it has an individual uh, unique call signal. So it's just there. But actually, this kind of and if the ship had to make any signals um up there, and there's a couple of boxes of full signal flags. Well, um, we have the ship's bell, which I guess is an important part of every ship. Here's a nice shot. Now she's a museum ship, so you can go and visit her. She's in Ontario. Um, so go through Windsor, right? So here's a nice picture of her starboard, forward starboard side. You can see gun sticking up there. Another shot from the starboard bow. There is me standing by a Canadian flag, actually. On the loading ramp, also, we seem to have a 90-degree list to port.
Either that or you're on the equator.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Some of these did really weird things. This is a 75 or 76 millimeter rapid fire gun. It's for anti-air defense. Haida did actually serve in the Korean War, and was actually very there. So this is a radar guided rapid fire anti-aircraft gun.
May
Yeah.
it looks like the screen on the stream is stuck, and I don't think anyone's seeing it. I can hear your voice
no.
on it.
Well, I just noticed that too. It does look like the screen is stuck.
Okay. Okay. So OBS does not like that.
Hmm.
So I stop share here. I was worried about something like that. OBS doesn't like that, so we're not going to do that. I don't really have any pictures to show of the Haida. We did walk around. My dad, who my dad actually was on her for 2 years in cadet camp when he was with the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets.
I've got an idea for you. Just a quick thought, a suggestion. Do you have a Google Drive? No doubt. If you can send them to Google Drive, link them to me, and I can open them and show them.
That's all right.
Wait,
That's
so
all right.
we didn't.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
I'll just have to find a way to fix that. That'd take like a really long
Okay.
at this point. So I'd have to get my drive open. It would take like a good 10 or.
Are we still frozen? Or are we
No,
back?
I
It's
stopped.
now moving now. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I stopped the screen share. It's just OBS doing weird things.
That's too bad. It's really.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah, these were really good pictures.
They are.
Thanks.
So
So
I'll tell you what,
yeah.
I've got a picture of something you might like. This is the USS Enterprise.
Oh, CV6.
Cool.
Is it 65? Yeah, 65.
65, yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, they scrapped her, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not been scrapped yet. It's just
No?
yeah, it's not
Okay.
actually been scrapped yet.
They're planning on
That's
scrapping her.
the Stennis.
Okay.
No, sorry, no, it's Truman. Sorry, it's Truman.
Truman, okay. Yeah, those are like Nimitz class, or whatever they Gerald R. Ford or whatever.
Yeah.
Super carriers. They're really boring.
Except the Enterprise, which is Enterprise class, of course.
Yes,
which is
yes,
the only
she
one.
is an Enterprise class, a unique class. The Nimitz class is basically an upgraded Enterprise. They're actually kind of based on everything. They just gave a better reactor because the Enterprise was really kind of done like without a whole lot of thought put into her. They're like, we're going to build a nuclear aircraft carrier. Okay, we didn't need to build this the way we did. We can change a few things to make it better.
Well, funnily enough, the ship that I like the most is the John F. Kennedy CV-67.
Okay.
And it's not new. It's the last of the non-nuclear one that they built.
So that would be
from 68 onwards were the Nimitz class.
There was one
would
good
that be
thing.
a Kitty Hawk class?
It was a modified Kitty Hawk class, so it's it's completely unique in the US Navy. And there are modifications that were done to the Kitty Hawk. So, for example, the where the elevators are.
Which ship is it?
It's John F. Kennedy, CV-67. And I've got some pictures somewhere. American.
Thank you for filling in. May was having a few technical difficulties, but
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, she's a variant of the Kitty Hawk. Okay, I will look at that because that's kind of interesting. I really like the one-off ship classes, like the Wichita. Now I am.
Well, I was just going to say the main difference is the exhaust stack is like an angled piece on sticking on the edge, and also, like I say, where the elevators are, they created the framework for how the Nimitz class went afterwards.
Oh, is it angled out like in the Japanese carriers? I'll have to take a look at that. So, yeah, like if you've seen my gaming YouTube channel or sometimes my Twitter, I really like big shooty ships. So yeah, I went to the Haida. She is like a significant. She is significant in our navy. Because she's the fightingest ship in the Royal Canadian. Actually, it sunk the most fires. He also ran a bunch of convoy escort, especially in the North Atlantic. They really liked to send us up there instead of American, British, or people who can't handle a little bit of harsh weather. So, yeah, she did. She was actually part of the action that sunk the Scharnhorst Um, she didn't she didn't actually engage in any fighting. She protected the transports.
Mhm.
But the Scharnhorst, they wanted to track her down and sink her, and she was making a convoy attack at night, and she ran into HMS Duke of York, which is a full-on King George V class battleship,
Mhm.
and a couple of her escorts. I can't remember all the cruisers. I know the U.S. are talking about. I am so tired. I
Also,
know that HMS Norfolk knocked out her forward radar, so she didn't see Duke of York coming at all. And well, the Scharnhorst, she fought valiantly, but she's got 9 11-inch guns, and the Duke of York had 10 14-inch guns. So the Scharnhorst, well, faster, was just outgunned, and hugely outnumbered. There was actually a few Dutch ships or maybe Polish ships that got like really just close enough to her to unload literally everything they had because they were like the Germans. Um, but she eventually went down. The biggest problem with the battle for the Scharnhorst is that the battle took place in um, like in utterly horrid weather. Basically took place in a blizzard. In the North Atlantic, running a convoy from I guess England, Britain, or to Russia. I can't remember if it was going,
There was a lot of
but
Lend-Lease stuff went to Russia.
yeah. Um, but yeah, the what the Haida did was she actually stayed with the merchantmen to protect them from destroyer attack or U-boat attack or anything else. So she didn't take part. She was part of the order of battle, but she didn't directly engage anything. Um, Although if were any German destroyers that showed up, she probably would have, because she has sunk a lot. So yeah, I do get out a little bit. I actually live in a very beautiful part of lots of go hiking around in. My friend Lily took me actually Cavan Woods, which is Cavan is this, like maybe 2,000 people, not very far from here. Um, and she is actually a geologist. And she was telling me how very weird this forest is because there are just so many drumlin, and a drumlin is basically a pile of sediment that is left over moving glaciers, receiving ice age. But it was really weird because there's ones that and there's just a forest there. It's like this weird meadow right in the middle of it where nothing all grows grass. And then we found a like just um that was really interesting. Gone on a few walks through some local well, and we yeah, I guess that's it. We have a couple of drumlins,
that's
but
game.
I've basically spent my childhood roving through forests and stuff. um, just the local stuff, just playing in the woods in the middle of the city I live in. Well, I wouldn't say in the middle, but definitely not on the edges or it's a small house. But I spent a good part of my childhood just going through local woods and parks. We actually have a pretty big park called so had all of that. Um, so yeah, I've been all through local stuff a lot. I did live in the country for like a year, so I got to explore a lot of wilderness stuff, and my mom lives out in the country, and we occasionally go out and do stuff. But I do have, but going back to the main thing that I want to see, you know, one adventure I'm going on sometime in the next 2 years is I'm going to San Francisco to get bottom surgery. Now, when I go to San Francisco, I am going to visit. Okay, my mask doesn't. USS Hornet CV-12, which is it is a decommissioned Essex class aircraft carrier. That is uh, basically set up as a museum ship. In it's actually in the Alameda Naval Base. So if anyone is familiar with Star Trek, I am going to see the nuclear vessels across the
Yeah.
bay in Alameda. And I'm probably never going to shut up about that when I'm on the thing.
That is awesome. And if I do get the privilege of going along with you, I would love to go with you and see that ship.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
I went to San Francisco last year because the person who adopted me as a cyber mother, because my mum doesn't like this, um, she died last year. But I think I've mentioned it before. She lives in my not only in my heart, but in my wallet as well, because my middle name is Jade, after her.
aw,
And so yeah, I went to San Francisco, and I would like to have gone to the Hornet. People going off and doing, going to various places, and I would like to have gone there, but sadly, no one else wanted to go. So,
Oh,
and I didn't want to be a burden, and that kind of thing. So,
I would have
but
just
maybe another time.
yeah, I would have just buggered off and went.
Mm.
I'm going to this aircraft carrier. If you guys don't like it, oh well. That's what I'd say.
Yeah,
Because
I've been
that
on the Intrepid in New York. That was
okay.
cool, including getting to see my first Tomcat.
Oh
And
yes.
then close up as well. And it's I forgot what number was it 159007, I think it is, which was the prototype of the D, the Model D Tomcat,
Okay, that's
which had
really
the
cool.
had the
I'll have to go
uprated
see that.
410 engines, and that kind of thing. So yeah, that was really cool. In terms of Kaden liking outdoorsy type stuff, so I've been to various places. Used to go to when I was at boarding school in Devon. We would go to various places. One time we hiked probably about 40 miles or so
wow.
from Bude down to beyond Tintagel, down to, I forgot where it was called now. There was a flood there a few years ago. Boscastle, I think it is. And then, but more recently, I think the nearest I've got to it is if I screen share this for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
So, and
just make sure this is working. I think it is. Yep, it is. So here's Manchester, and I live on the east side, but this is a railway line, and there's the old railway line used to come all the way through this part, and you can just see this is where the old railway line used to curve around,
nice.
and it's a trail, so you can this is where all the reservoirs, the water for the city are,
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
we
and
have
it's now a
beautiful.
bicycle trail.
we
But
have a lot of decommissioned that have been bicycle
One,
around here.
not trying to cut someone off, but David still needed to get his chance to talk about his adventures.
Yeah,
oh
Uh,
yes, of
well,
course.
I wanted to just
yeah,
finish what I
what is?
was.
This is really quick. I've
Oh,
nearly
it's
finished.
okay. Go ahead and
So
finish.
what happened was they used the electric cables and they put them under through the tunnel instead. They used to use the old tunnel and left the new tunnel. and then the old tunnel was falling to bits, so they've gone and redone it, and they've gone underneath. So if they decide to use the railway again, they can. But I went up there to show a friend, and that was early this year.
Okay, yeah, you look great in that, by the
Oh,
way.
that's a really cute outfit. It really is.
Yeah.
You look awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that was the same week. Anyway.
Aw. Yeah, that sounds like a fun trip to be on.
Yeah.
So, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So just to continue on from where it was going, if I could travel, I would go and see a lot of museum ships in the world. I want to see. I definitely want to go to Britain and see Victory Row and HMS Belfast if she's not in Victory Row. I think she.
I don't know. I mean, Belfast is on the Thames, so I don't think so. I don't. What is Victory Row? I'm not familiar with that.
It's where they keep all of the museum ships, like HMS Victory.
Oh, okay, that's Portsmouth.
Oh, okay. Then I'll have to go to both of them. I definitely want to go to. I absolutely definitely want to go to Victory Row, and I do want to see HMS Belfast because there's not a lot of preserved light cruisers, right?
There's a lovely ship in Dundee as well.
Yeah.
I forget the name of it, but it's a really nice one.
Nice.
Oh,
yeah. I would love to see HMS Victory though. That is like the original badass ship. The one that Nelson commanded when he sent the Spanish Armada turned tail and running at Bulgar. And that's a full out ship of the line. I want to go to Japan. I think I said I want to go to Japan, and I want to see the pre-dreadnought, the only pre-dreadnought battleship that has been preserved in its existence, the Mikasa. Just because that ship, one, has a lot of history of beating up the Russians, and two, it's another historic ship. It's another giant. It's a pre-battleship. It's like HMS Dreadnought completely changed how battleships were built. So this one was before Dreadnought. She fought in the I think the first and second Russian fleet off, or the second Baltic fleet. I think she fought all the ships that the Russians sent to try to help out in the Russo-Japanese War, because they were trying to Port Arthur. And yeah, so I want to go see her. Another ship in the States I want to see is USS Texas, because she's the only surviving Dreadnought class battleship. There are a few American later battleships, like the entire Iowa class, and I think maybe but they're not Dreadnought battleships. They're the last generation of fast battleship. But I want to see, the Texas. She fought in both World War I and World War II. She was effective. She may have actually covered my grandfather's landing, 7th of June, 1944, when he was at Juno Beach. There was some battleship covering it. Could have been her. It could have been Warspite. Another reason I would like Warspite to have been served. And her bombardments were very, very effective at suppressing the defenses on Normandy. She actually had to go back to Britain for shells because she ran out of ammo. They even flooded they even flooded the torpedo bulges on one side to force the ship to list, to give her guns enough elevation to provide fire support against a bunch of. I think she was firing at a bunch of panzers, like something like 40 miles inland or something. So she is like a massive piece of history that I would love to go and see. The Iowas, even Missouri, they didn't really do anything. Just they just kind of went around and did carrier escort and maybe shot at stuff on shore, right? So that's eh. I would rather see the older ships that actually did a lot more and were there from start to finish. And then there's a few ships in Russia that I'll probably never see, like people there.
You're not American. You only sound a bit like one.
Yeah, but they don't like queer people at all.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would maybe go in winter, and then they would know I'm not American. But yeah, yeah, I would love to just go and see every single preserved ship. The one other preserved ship that I wanted to talk about that I want to go see is, pardon my butchering of this name, but it's the Blitzkowiska. How you pronounce? I'm sorry, Polish people, if you're watching. I butchered the name of your ship.
Can you spell it?
I can't because it uses weird letters.
Wow.
And I'm sorry for calling your letters weird letters. It just uses non-standard accents and stuff like that, so I can't even spell it, and I don't even know how to spell it. But she is a destroyer. She is actually the what's the word? She's basically the adopted sister ship of HMCS Haida. And she is Haida's the second oldest preserved destroyer in the world, and the Bliskovitska is the oldest preserved destroyer. She escaped Poland with her crew, and for much of the World War II, she was the only free Polish territory. She operated under the Royal Navy, World War II, but she was only manned by Polish crew members, and she was considered sovereign Polish territory. She flew the Polish flag, and so on and so forth. And she had a very, very, very good career. So she's preserved in Poland, and I want to go see her, because she is just another really.
Is it okay if I cut in for a second? I don't want to cut
Yeah,
you off.
I'm pretty much done anyway.
Thank you. What you said was absolutely fascinating, and again, ships aren't something that I have much of an experience with, but the way that you framed it, just in terms of the history and of the construction, it really made it seem exciting to me, and I think I'm really going to start getting into this topic more.
Okay.
I did want to move on to David though, because I know he had a few things to say, and
Yeah,
then
we probably should have started with him.
oh, it's okay. And then I had a few other things to weigh in about.
Yeah, sure.
So David, it's all yours.
Yeah, okay. So, screen share. First of all, I'll share my own picture of the Enterprise.
Nice. The
The only-
U.S. Enterprise, yes.
The only one that counts.
NC 1701.
Alpha.
But that's the A. So I can't
Yeah.
I can't finish the quote. I'm sorry.
That's the A retrofit.
Okay.
That's not the retrofit.
That is a retrofit because the blue disc was a retrofit. The red one was the original one. Then they destroyed it in Wrath of Khan,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they got rebuilt and retrofitted that with the blue one.
Okay.
Search for Spock was when they destroyed it.
So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
the NCC 1701, no bloody A B C. Thank you for letting me quote. She was destroyed. The NCC 1701 was a refit constitution,
Mhm.
and 1701A was a basically a second generation constitution.
Is it new ship, brand new ship?
Yeah,
Yeah.
brand new ship built to the new specs. It's kind of like saying that it she has the relationship to the original the original NCC 1701
Like the
as
evolved
like a Gerald R. Ford class aircraft carrier has to a class.
You know, there's a funny little thing. So for Star Trek, originally it was going to be the Yorktown,
Yes, it was,
and
and
then
I
they
like
changed
that.
it. Well, the 1701A was going to be the Yorktown, and then they renamed it Enterprise A.
Hmm.
It's the Yorktown. The Yorktown's thinking project.
Hmm.
That's all. And I can totally understand why he wanted to call it the Yorktown. And I can totally understand why his second, why Gene Roddenberry's second um, option was Enterprise, because actually they were both Yorktown class aircraft carrier. I'm sorry, you hit the other thing. Okay, big shooty ships in the sea and big shooty ships in space are both my passions.
This is a robot dance thing in Japan. Don't know if you
No.
can see
Okay,
this.
Nice.
yeah,
It
that
was
was pretty cool.
it was pretty. It was quite loud though, and quite full of people. So it was difficult to stay in, but I did.
Could you kind of explain what the event was about?
It was just a robot dance thing. We danced and then tribal music.
Nice.
By
I
the way,
just
David, you mentioned Aberdeen and the ship there was the Unicorn.
Dundee. No,
Dundee, sorry, Dundee Unicorn.
or the
HMS
hours, right?
Unicorn.
Big wooden thing.
Mm,
I've been on that.
right. I heard it was a training ship though, from what I remember.
There's a
I
ship.
might. It's been a while since I looked.
The ship we can go on in Dundee. It's quite fun. That is a standard Japanese house in the olden days.
I'd love to go to Japan.
Two size. Yeah, to get to Japan, I had to go I think it was 6 hours to Dubai, then 9 hours to Tokyo.
Oh, you flew with Emirates then, did you?
No, I flew with Delta.
Oh, right, okay.
That's the house out from the outside. That's the scale as well. That's on the streets of Tokyo.
Sugoi.
Mm.
This is so interesting.
I'd love to
Yeah.
go to Matsumoto.
Apparently,
the-
their cabs there. They open the door for you. They don't like if you do it.
They
The
do.
interesting thing about the Japanese, I love how they have the old and the new next to each other. You know, the shrine and then the modern skyscraper or something right next to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I even tried my hand at pachinko.
Mm.
I couldn't understand a thing about it.
Right? Pachinko?
The other there's an amusing there was a advert in Britain for HSBC, and they were saying like in in Japan, the people playing golf. If you get a hole in one in Japan, you're expected to pay, to buy gifts for your other, the people you're playing with. And the thing to bear in mind with that is that Tokyo has some of the most expensive real estate in the world. And that you could get the highest denomination banknote, put it on the ground, and the ground is worth more than the note in terms of area.
Wow.
And so the idea behind it is, if you live in Tokyo and you can, if you can afford to have a golf club membership, you're a rich person. So you can afford to buy expensive gifts for your friends.
Yeah.
That
Well,
makes
that's
total
a,
sense.
that's one of the back alleys near the hotel I stayed at.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, that's one some small things.
Sumo, nice.
That's what I used to look like a year ago. At
What
least
I
my
still
belly.
look like now.
This is
Yeah.
a tapestry thing in one of the museums in Tokyo.
Wow. Yeah, Japan is just a wonderful place. I'm actually learning Japanese, and I'm hoping to hopefully be able to live in Japan someday and use my skills. But it's an absolutely fascinating country. Got a lot of interesting history, and it's also got a lot of
Yeah,
magic.
it's me at one of the shrines.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Horrible.
okay.
There's the wee aquarium inside one of the shopping malls. What was
Mhm.
sad is that they actually had dogs in little boxes as well for sale, puppies.
Yeah, that's one of the downsides of Japan is that that's still legal, the whole pet shop thing.
I'm not quite sure what that is. I think it's a giant bong.
Oh my gosh.
It's something you try with. Anyway, another similar thing. That was a old first style taxi.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I can't remember.
What are those called in English?
Handicaps.
Hackney cab, yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the old cities that was destroyed, I think, in the museum.
Mm-hmm. Looks like it might be from the Edo period.
I think it was, or maybe even one before that. That's the other side of the street, where the hotel I was at, and then back to the museum. They're not in any order, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that.
So what city was this in? Was this in Osaka?
This is in Tokyo. This is my first trip to Tokyo.
Oh, nice.
That's the museum again.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually underneath a giant bell.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay, I found what I'm looking.
Do that. Oh, no. You see the dragon?
Hmm.
I do. Very intricate.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Is me
Oh.
dressing up?
Nice. And one quick note on that form of dress. It's actually that's a Mongolian dish. It's not
Yeah.
actually Japanese.
It does. The hat does look like a cupcake.
It does.
You know, when it's your birthday.
I look like a twat, to be fair.
You look awesome. So really
I
style.
know. It's a good train outside one of the places in Tokyo,
Nice.
back at the museum.
So then I'm curious, as someone who didn't speak much Japanese, how did you feel in Tokyo? Because
Quite
I
well.
from travelers that a lot of people in Tokyo will speak English or will try to help you in English. How did that go for you?
Quite well. I mean, there's folk in the big centres and the train stations who say I speak English to help you.
Oh, nice. So it's not too hard to get around if you don't speak
No, I
English.
mean the trains themselves are color coded.
The other thing to bear in mind if you're traveling in Japan is Japanese kids are taught English at school, but they kind of learn more with the written than the verbal.
Yeah, that's the one thing about Japan is that they're better reading English than they're speaking it.
Yeah, so if you write something down, they'll probably be able to help you more.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the sad thing is one thing about Japanese teaching with is I like how the classes that belong to students, the deaf ones students, and they're made to clean up. that instills a sense of responsibility in that.
Mm.
But they're very rigid in how they teach as well, which is not a good thing. And they're only really learning how to pass exams rather than anything of substance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If they could, if both America or the West and Japan could combine their teaching methods, the flexibility of the West, along with the responsibility structure that Japan brings, you'd have a pretty good teaching system.
I would agree with that completely. And as far as the written versus the verbal, this is one thing that has happened to me when I was, newer at speaking Japanese, and then I wasn't I was making a lot more errors and mistakes and things like that. Is I would say something in Japanese and the person would reply in English, and that just felt like because it let me know that I said something incorrect or my accent was off. But as I've made
By the
progress,
way,
people have stopped.
May, I know you said you wanted to go to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I would, May, if you ever do go to Japan, dress for Florida.
Yeah, okay.
Why?
Because the temperature and the humidity is pretty much similar.
Well, it
Okay.
depends and you go, because if you go to Hokkaido, which is in the northern part of the country.
Well, I went to Tokyo in October, so.
Well, yeah, I mean Tokyo. Yeah,
Okay,
that makes
yeah. I actually want. Okay, so I think it's in. I think the Mikasa is. I want to say Osaka.
I think it's in Osaka, which English,
I thought the biggest temple was there.
which so
Fate.
Osaka, it means big hill. So in English, it's called Big Hill.
Oh no, sorry, Yokosuka. It's in She's in Yokosuka.
Oh, nice.
So I would go there. There's another place I really want to go. It's part of I guess the greater Tokyo area, but it seems to be on. I don't even know if this is Tokyo or what. I'm having a hard time finding where it is.
What's it called?
Actually, but the city is Suruga. Suruga.
You spell it?
Suruga.
Suruga. Yeah. I want to suburb of Tokyo.
You and Laura would like it because it's a railway city. But in this city, there are, say how many? There are a lot of them. Like 50 or 60 life-sized bronze statue of characters from my favorite anime, which is
God.
like one of the most popular anime series ever. It's not just one anime series. The ones that are listed, or the ones that the characters are from, are part of a larger universe, and oftentimes characters interact with each other. So they appear in many different animes by the same creator, who is actually Leiji Matsumoto, who is one of the most he's basically like the second or third, one of the original pioneers of manga and anime.
Indeed.
What anime are they?
The ones that are the statues that are present are from Galaxy Express 39. That's spelt 999, not 3 then 9.
Anime for sure.
So it's spelt it's Galaxy Express 39 and Space Battleship Yamato, which are two of the Yamato is most known outside of Japan, and it is loved everywhere. The Japanese Navy band actually does music from Space Battleship Yamato.
Nice.
like as part of their parade, kind of like how North American Air Force bands will play the Top Gun anthem. Well,
That's
they don't do that. They do this ancient anime. Because one, the music in it's really good, and two, it's like a legendary anime.
So it's
It's a huge series. Um,
so it's called
uh,
Space Battleship Yamato.
Space Battleship Yamato, Uchu Senken Yamato.
And this is one of the biggest temples in.
Yep, and it's also called Star Blazers in the U.S. Sorry to go ahead.
This is one of the biggest temples in Tokyo. This is where I found the upside down bell.
Oh no!
Thing.
Wow.
It's also where I got one of those good luck sticks. They have fortune sticks. Sorry.
That is a Shinto temple, is it not?
I think so. I got the fortune sticks in one of the temples anyway.
Nice.
I got bad luck. I was one of the robots. It was just a basically moving robots. That was all it was.
Yep.
That was a bad picture, but it's basically statues of people moving. So it's like a progression of as they move. That is I believe a kabuki, either a samurai or a kabuki.
Nice. That is kabuki.
That's a statue of a monk, who I believe was actually encased in the statue itself. And it was designed all around him.
Wait, so you're saying that his actual body is inside?
I believe so, but I might be remembering wrong.
Oh dang! Then that's dead body. That's like creepy.
He's forever.
Yeah.
He's forever meditating.
It's fascinating, but it's creepy.
This was a wee cafe, actually.
Nice.
I
Did
took the
that
picture.
have
I took the picture, but left after I saw the menu price.
Oh, I can understand. And plus, like all the lights and things would have been essentially pain.
Plus, there's another shrine, which is good fun.
Nice.
There's a lot of coins below. It's me and Lauren at the train.
Uh-huh.
She's back at the. There's quite a few pictures at the fucking museum. The word.
Wait. Oh, that's a beautiful Copa. That's amazing.
The shrine again.
Oh, it's also called Coda.
That's Hachi.
Oh, nice. Is that from the show Hachi?
Yeah, it's the
That's
dog
so
that
cool.
stayed. It's the dog that stayed at the train station for his master every day.
Mm-hmm.
A lot like our statue in Edinburgh, Greyfriars Bobby.
Aw. Same thing.
These are
It's so
just
cool.
old-fashioned Japanese outfits.
Nice.
It's difficult to remember what everything was because it's so long ago.
Yeah. We should really go again, like together, and just have a bunch of fun, explore Japan, and really
There's
get into
Sega.
Oh, nice. Nice. And that's in Tokyo, right?
That's me with a new jacket.
Oh, it's a cute jacket.
I wanted the white one, to be fair. That's a wee city encased in glass. I forget the name of it, unfortunately.
Nice.
It's a scale model of the life of the time.
Nice.
That's another big robot.
Oh, that's so fetching cool. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of robots, I've got something to show you after.
So what do you think, Laura?
I just had a few. Oh, go ahead, Laura.
No. It's after you've done.
Yeah,
It'll expect what people.
I was asking you what you thought.
Oh, it's great! It looks fantastic.
Yes.
That
That's
looks
me.
that looks less fantastic.
Yeah, that's me after a hard night.
Aww.
No, it's an actual dead body.
I know, I was just kidding with the aw.
And the
Yeah,
streets are okay. Is Echo?
Akko?
Okay.
Elky.
Alki.
Oh.
Alki.
Yeah.
And Blue Tree. And there was
I
a
just,
spot.
I just, I just
I-
laughed because we've been watching Ippo.
Yeah, it's Hajime no Ippo, which means the first step in Japanese. And it's this boxing anime. And there was a character in there called Aoki-san, who's just kind of a total cheese ball.
Yeah, it's
And
boxing
so
fights are pretty much a slugfest.
pretty much, like, not much of a style behind it. And he kind of has like this frog punch
Which
where he like jumps up like a frog and hits his opponent. Like, and so I always like kind of chuckle when I see Aoki.
There's another samurai sword.
Nice.
I think that one's lost its hilt, but it's just a blade.
Well, these things are hundreds of years old. You have to keep in mind.
These are
Oh,
geisha.
Oh. Oh, nice. Yeah, they are geisha. It's not kabuki. That's really cool.
I forget the name of the two smaller girls because they were apprentices to geisha, but they had a special name.
I have no idea.
Oh,
Like,
there's that place again. That's the
Where-
hotel I stayed at, or the side of it anyway.
Nice. That sounds like a hotel that like mostly Japanese people would stay at instead of Westerners.
But that's the average street in Japan.
Yeah, you know. Well, in Tokyo, that's the average street.
That's the average street in Tokyo. What do you think?
I think it's really closed in, but it kind of has like this homey, you know,
Yeah.
cozy feeling that
It actually
American
feeds in.
streets don't have.
It actually feeds into the mentality of the Japanese, and it's how, you know, so people are more remote in the West from each other, even their neighbors,
Yeah.
and that's because we have bigger homes, so there's more space. And so with the Japanese, because they've got an island the same kind of size as of Britain, but about 65% of it is mountains and volcanoes and places where you can't really live, you know, all hills. As a result, all the flat stuff is all built on, that's where all the cities are, and they go all the way from the south, all the way across the south coast. So as a result, because everybody lives closer to each other, they understand the concept of people need space and room to be themselves, but we're also living on top of each other. So there's that sort of, you don't want to upset someone and that kind of thing. They're less likely to deliberately try to annoy someone.
Here's me outside the museum. There are pictures of.
It's cool.
That's the museum there.
Nice.
That's Kara. She's been on many of her own adventures
Aw.
as a younger her.
You should explain, Kara, since I know that you're someone who writes a lot of stories, and I find them fascinating, but maybe you can just give a brief explanation.
Well, that Kara there is a warrior of justice. She has a black and white code of dispensing justice to the most evil of people.
It's awesome. There was one thing that I wanted to touch on if no one else had anything pressing.
Not really.
Like, since I know that this episode is focusing on adventure, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about like my personal philosophy of adventure, and I'll keep this as short as possible because I know it's boring to most people, but the way that I see it, like, adventure isn't just like going out and climbing a mountain or traveling to a different country. It's present in everyday life. because every day, no matter how mundane it is, has something new to offer. Even if I'm at work and I'm doing the same thing, something is still new, and there's still an opportunity to make something a bit different than what it was. So basically, I see, as long as I wake up in the morning and I'm alive and I can feel the sun on my face, I'm on an adventure. And I don't know if that really resonates with anyone else, but it's like one of my big philosophies and one of my big um, areas of focus in my life is just kind of appreciating the adventure in just everyday life. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at. I know I probably sound stupid to people putting it that way, but it's what I believe.
That's my transition. Going too much. Uh, I'm charting on.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm also, even though I don't get out and go to the places that I want, I can explore those places by exploring.
Eh,
And there are a lot of ships on those ships that you can only explore through history because either they were scrapped, left of them, or they were sunk. Um, and while there are a lot of ships that we know the location of the wrecks on the bottom, there are also ships that didn't really make it that far intact enough for there to
Mm-hmm.
be anything for. Um, so that is something I also actually want to bring up. Nasty little problem. Um, is that people illegally salvage these wrecks that are considered war graves. Like, I always get ships of the same last name up. It was Prince of Wales and HMS Prince of Wales and HMS. I it was either the Renown or the
Well, Prince of Wales was the one sunk at was it Battle River Plate or was it
no,
the
no, no, no. The Battle of River Plate was the Graf Bay against a
Oh
bunch of
yeah.
against a bunch of light and heavy cruisers. And the Graf Bay was a cruiser armed cruiser with 11-inch battle cruiser guns. Um, but no, they were sunk in Pacific, trying to come around, and I got to get up on my history on task force, but they were basically sunk by Japanese bombers. I think
I
it was the
mean,
Battle of Samar. I can't.
I'm off. I'm heading to bed.
Okay.
Oh, good night. Take care.
Have a good night. Um. So yeah, like they're they were sunk by Japanese torpedo bombers, G2Ms. No, G3M. Land-based medium torpedo bombers. They put up a really good fight, but it was just two battleships, a couple of cruisers fighting off a wave after wave after of land-based bombers and level bombers. So the thing is that people are illegally salvaging wrecks, selling off parts. I'm pretty sure it was the results that. Pretty sure it was the um battle cruise. Undefined
Yeah, it was the Repulse and Prince of Wales, and they were. It
Oh, it was
was
Prince of Wales? Yeah, I said Prince.
Yeah, and there was well, I think
There was like 4 destroyers with them.
it was the Battle of Denmark Strait with
Not
the
Denmark.
Bismarck, which took the Prince of Wales.
No, that took the
And
hood.
yeah,
The Prince of
took
Wales
that-
got
took that as
damaged
well.
and it had to. Prince of Wales got
Oh
damaged
yeah,
and
sorry.
had to retreat.
Yeah, and it was destroyed in the Pacific. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was it.
yeah.
Because no, I know it operated with the Battle of Denmark Strait with the Thunder and the Conqueror, or was it just the Conqueror?
No, there was it. No, the Battle of the Denmark
Oh,
Strait.
Exeter. Sorry. I can't remember. I tend to think in class 50 names.
Oh,
So,
okay, that makes sense. The Battle of the Denmark Strait, where the Bismarck got hunted down. The first 2 ships to go after her were the Prince of Wales and were HMS Prince of Wales and HMS Hood.
yeah.
Hood in desperate need of a refit and an upgrade because 20s. Well, basically, Bismarck got a lucky shot on her and
Yeah.
detonated
Straight in the top and blew up the magazine, didn't it?
Yeah, detonated ready use 4.7-inch secondary magazine. And then Prince of Wales was being focused on by the I don't forget we were talking about this ship before actually. Got focused on by the Prince Eugen. And then the Bismarck started focusing on her. Now she was barely out of shakedown. She hadn't even got to the shakedown yet. She was like barely launched, not even full. They were actually dock working on the ship to get her as functional. What happened was the Prince of Wales basically started taking damage, losing gun turrets. Not through the fault, not from fire from any of the shooting at her. So she retreated, but one of her 14-inch shells did actually manage to the forward bow of the Bismarck. I believe it went straight through, but it ruptured an oil tank. Which led to the Bismarck flooding, slowing down, reducing her top speed from like 32 knots to 20, I think 24 or something like that. And they were able to follow the oil slick, and they were able to basically track her down and catch her with aircraft launched from Ark Royal. And the aircraft the Ark Royal launched were the fiery swordfish torpedo bomber, which
Ferry.
was like
It's
ferry.
Yeah.
Was the ferry swordfish torpedo bomber, which had no business being in World War II whatsoever. One of them actually managed for a torpedo hit on the stern and jammed the rudder.
Old biplane design.
Yep. They were apparently very tough though.
Yeah, but believe it, there's another amusing irony, which is the first kill of World War II, for the British, that is, after we joined, was by a skua, which was like just a little tiny rubbish thing.
The skuas were terrible. Anyways, the Bismarck being slowed down, ships that were not dreadnought, or that were normal speed dreadnoughts, the heavy guns, and stuck in a turn. She was finally caught up to by HMS King George V, which was the same class as the Rodney Nelson class. And they eventually just kept closing the arc until they weren't actually doing any damage to the Bismarck. They were just blowing bits of her super. At some point, HMS Rodney actually torpedoed the Bismarck in the only battleship on battleship torpedo strike that was ever landed. Although apparently it is possible that Hood actually almost came on that, because before she went down, when she was making the turn that got her sunk, she may have fired a torpedo, and that may have caused problems for the business to follow, because she was fighting a torpedo. Not want to get. So yeah, that's some interesting trivia. The Bismarck is the only battleship that by another battleship. So the Rodney and the George V eventually then destroyed everything above the waterline, and then cruisers were sent in. Cruisers and destroyers were sent. I believe it was the Dorset. Was sent in to finish her off with torpedoes, and crew eventually, like also like abandoned ship, detonated scuttling charges, that sort of. But the ship was lost by then. It was just floating home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Funnily enough, you mentioned Prince of Wales. There's actually going to be a new Prince of Wales launch soon, which is the second of the British aircraft carriers.
Right. Yeah, they made the. No, isn't it? Isn't she the first and the second York Royal?
No. The first one is the Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, right.
And then Prince of Wales.
No, the Warspite is going to be a sub.
Yeah. Now, something that was mentioned earlier, you were talking about anime stuff earlier. So yeah. I thought you might be interested in some pictures that I painted in about 1999, 2000-ish. So I did a little bit of.
Nice. I could not be that artistic. I'm horrible.
That is awesome. I have no artistic skill at all.
Nope, none here either.
There you go. Same character.
Nice. Where was she from?
It's called Moldiver.
Oh, I've heard of that. I think I actually have that on a hard drive somewhere and just never watched it.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
but I'm always up for new anime. So
I mean, there's one I started but never painted.
Okay.
Although I did copy it of my own. And because someone asked me to, she saw the work and she said, "Will you do me one?" So I painted. She prefers Sailor Moon, so I modified the picture to be that.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Aww,
I used to watch that.
Oh my gosh, that's really fetching cute.
Yeah.
Fudge, boy, you're so fetching talented.
So I then moved on to doing some Transformers because that's what I liked as a kid.
Nice. Yep. No, I was too. Like I was a Transformers fan as a kid too.
And I really
but the only Transformers are the Generation 1 Transformers, right? No
Beast Wars, no Generation 2.
Beast Wars is Generation 1. Beast Wars counts.
I don't think so. But anyway, there's a Bumblebee I started,
Yeah.
And I like the style that I've done. It's the Jeff Senior. I think he's the best artist because he, someone like Andy Wildman, he will have they're like. Do you remember Terminator 2?
Yes, I do.
The guy that was like the liquid metal. It's almost like that. That's his imagination of them. Whereas Jeff Senior is like metal plates and the eyes are actually sensors rather than eyes, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Really?
And all I do is I just start off with, a sort of boxy shape,
Yep.
and then
Cool.
modify it according to what the character looks like.
Nice. You
yeah.
kind of like take it in at some point, like kind of erase, and then add in stronger lines.
Yeah.
Nice.
So a lot of shadow.
Yep.
And of course, it could be Thundercracker, Starscream, or Skywalk.
Well,
Or the Three Stooges, as you probably.
Yeah. But that one you saw a moment ago where I said I'd take a blocky bit. There you go. There's Soundwave.
well.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I did a few. I did a commission for someone, a ramjet. So that was the original commission design.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So fetching.
And then I did a Sunstreaker.
All right.
Wow, nice. I wish I had.
I did some other anime character type stuff. Those are some fresh ones.
If I could do that, I would not.
You should be a professional animator like Willie.
Yeah. And this is all paint. I literally I paint them with paints.
Is it watercolor?
Yeah, it's just acrylic paint.
Nice.
This is something I did for a New Year. I think it was 2000, 2001, something like that.
Oh, I think I recognize that character. She looks familiar.
It's not a character. It's just something I threw together. So
original. So no, my brain is deceiving me then.
No, I swear I've seen.
The problem with Japanese anime, there are so many that look similar, don't they?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So Laura, I have a question for you. I'm kind of wondering if you know any Japanese, like Nihongo o hanashimasu ka?
I studied Japanese and I passed a course in it, but it's been such a long time I can't remember. Nihongo benkyou shimasu.
Oh.
No, shimasu. Sen. Yeah, that was it.
So this.
I remember bits, but I mean, I actually got into university to study Japanese, and I lasted 9 weeks. The agoraphobia just hit me crazy, and I quit, and I never looked back. Basically,
I'm so sorry.
But,
I totally get agoraphobia. I don't actually have it anymore, but I used to because I have a trauma history, and it was really bad at one point. So I totally get that struggle. But as far as the language goes, like the only reason that I'm able to speak it as much as I do is that I practice literally every single day. Like I can't miss a single day, because if I do, I start to forget things.
Yeah.
And so it's just that, like, to learn Japanese, if you're an English native speaker, because it's such a different language, you really need to be at it daily.
Yeah.
Mine.
I'll start learning French and then Japanese, but first I have to finish learning decent English.
I mean, I do.
It can be forgiven.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember the mentality of it.
At least we know how to spell things like color and say said right.
It's not color. It's color. CLL.
Color. COLOUR.
Yeah.
Why is that?
And it's pronounced Zed. Zed.
Is it okay if I share something?
And no, it's pronounced math.
Oh my god!
Just to piss everyone off. It's math, not maths. Just to piss everybody off.
Oh
it's just mathematics, and you just put math and maths.
I thought it was math. I literally can't say THS as a sound sequence. Math.
Yeah.
I can't say it. But I was going to mention something like one of the biggest sources of excitement and one of the biggest journeys in my life is that just learning to be able to speak in public on a show like this has been huge for me because I was born with language deficits and I've had a pretty noticeable speech impediment for most of my life, like a bit of a stuttering problem. There were some sounds that I can't pronounce. And the fact that I've worked hard enough to be able to speak several languages and more importantly to be able to be on a show like this where I know there are people watching, I know people are judging, and to be able to get what I wanted to say out. That's just such a huge thing for me. And I know it might not sound like much to most people, but it's really changed my life.
Okay, well that is awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
if I've helped make your life a little bit better, then you know, thank you.
Oh, no problem. You're welcome. But yeah, that's been one of my biggest adventures as well. It's just overcoming my own limits and being able to speak in public and to be understood.
Yeah, I mean, mine's similar, but in a different form. So because I've got agoraphobia, I don't go out, so I don't meet people very much, and so the internet is my way of reaching out to people. It's my way of communicating and hanging out with friends, and I consider the two of you, you know, among them.
Aw, thank you. I know you're fun too. Same with me.
Right, that is awesome.
So sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, friends on this show.
Were we planning on doing an after show today?
I don't think May's got the constitution to do that tonight.
Oh, it's
Well,
okay.
let me here, I don't think there's anyone actually watching.
No one's watching.
No, there's us three, at least.
This would be an unpopular topic because most people, well, I won't say most, but a lot of people just don't get adventure. And so, but this is a topic that I've been wanting to do for months. And so, thank you so much for letting me do it, even if it wasn't a big hit with the viewers. I had an absolute blast. So,
yeah, I think I got to. I agree. Like I got to, show my absolute, show everybody how much of a
Armorhead? No.
I don't know.
Warship head. I don't know. I'm thinking petrol head, but you know,
Whole head. I don't know. As much as I love ships as much as I actually do. Even though I have, yeah, I'm just tired and can't remember things at the minute.
Oh, it's okay.
Whatever.
I think you would have enjoyed going with me and my friend Kat to Norfolk Naval Air Base in Virginia, near Virginia Beach.
Okay.
Because we took the tour, and we went by all the battleships, I don't know what it's called, Battleship Row, but whatever you want to call it. It's basically the rows of bays at the Norfolk Naval Station, which is where the Atlantic Fleet is based.
Okay.
And so there were at least 4 carriers there, 2 Marine ones and 2 US Navy ones, plus other various.
Okay, so you are talking about.
It was Americans, yeah. And we also went to Oceana Naval Air Station, which is a bit further over. And I got to see Tomcats flying 2 years before they stopped finishing them. And here's an example. It's a really rubbish photo, and it's also upside down.
It's not rubbish. That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, of all the modern aircraft, of all the jet-powered aircraft, I think the Tomcat is easy and by far my favorite.
Really?
Like World War II vintage aircraft. I don't know. I really like the Hellcat.
Hmm.
Oh, that is a really cool one. Yeah, Hellcats are pretty awesome. 1 second. I know I had a picture saved, and this is not a picture that I did, but
Well, the Hellcat was the primary naval fighter for much of the war, replacing the Wildcat.
Yeah, we had a bunch of Wildcats. I don't know if we had Hellcats. I'm not sure, but the British had them in the Royal Navy. My favorite aircraft of World War II is actually the Beaufighter. Oh yeah, definitely.
That's
an early war one, that with the red outlines.
Yeah, that is a Hellcat. Yeah, the thing with the Hellcat is that as the Japanese uh, training and skill was declining, the Hellcat ended the war as the second best fighter in World War II, like a 16.5 to 1 kill ratio. The most efficient aircraft in a single theater or under the like ownership of a single country was actually the predecessor to the F4F Wild or the F4 Wildcat. Not necessarily need the F on it. The F4 Wildcat was the F2. It was the Brewster Buffalo. I don't even think they had an F designation for it when it was built. But Finnish pilots flying against Russians in the Winter War, or maybe the Second Winter War, flying these ancient, first generation carrier based monoplane all metal aircraft. I don't know if they were even all metal. Got a 22 to 1 kill ratio against the Russians.
nice.
Not that
And
the
the Brewster
Russians really
Buffalo
had.
was basically an engine with some wings attached to it.
Basically, and the actual cabin was like way aft, like way back.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it was kind of.
That had to be such an unstable airplane because of the center of gravity.
There's an aircraft which I am my favorite aircraft for World War II is the Bristol Beaufighter.
The Beaufighter. Oh yes.
Now, the designer of it basically said you can make the kitchen sink fly. Sorry, the kitchen table fly if you put enough power into it. So it had some very powerful engines, Hercules 8s, and they made a whole variant of them, a whole bunch of them. But there's an amusing thing. So one of the aircraft that's most well known, of course, is the Spitfire.
Yep.
Funnily enough, I was almost about to post a picture very, very similar to that.
Maybe really?
That one.
No.
Yeah.
I know class photos. I know it's weird, but I do.
It's armed with Mark 10 rockets.
Yeah.
And that. Oh wait! This is the best. Sorry to cut you off. That is actually NE255/EE-H of number 404 Squadron, Royal Canadian Air Force.
How do you know that?
Because I'm looking at the picture on Wikipedia right now.
Oh, nice.
And the picture is described.
Gotcha. I mean, that's obviously in the D-Day, got D-Day stripes under it. So, yeah, the picture I was looking at just a few moments before Kaden shared that one was this one. And because it was a similar angle, I thought, wait a minute, didn't I just look at that picture?
Nope, it's the same one. I just got it from the internet. I didn't take the picture.
It's not the same picture.
That's not the same picture. It's a different picture.
Yeah, this is on a dirt airfield.
Yeah, and the markings are different, and the rockets are different. Oh, the rockets are.
That's an ugly airplane that it's cute. Like, it's so ugly, it's cute.
Well, the amusing thing about it is, what vegetable helps you see in the dark?
A carrot?
Yeah, people say this, okay? And it comes from this aeroplane.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So what happened was it's 1941. We've managed to survive through D-Day. This is for the British, obviously, bear in mind. America hasn't even got involved in the war yet. And, you know, we're holding our own, but we're not exactly doing brilliantly. You know,
Yeah.
we've stopped the invasion of Britain, but we've still got problems going on in North Africa, and so on. So any news was good news. And what happened was there's a guy called John Cunningham, and he was the first night fighter ace, and he did it in the Beaufighter. He'd killed a couple with the Blenheim, but he became an ace in a Beaufighter, like one of these, and he was a night fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was, there's good news. He's the first night fighter ace. So the reporter licks his pencil and says, "So how can you see the planes in the dark?"
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't explain that they had radar, the first airborne radar. So what would happen is that you would have a ground station radar, and then you know, and that would say, okay, your angels are, you know, 15,000 feet at certain distance, and they're traveling a certain direction. And so the night fighters would close in, and as they got close, their onboard radar would pick it up, and you can just see one of the radar aerials here, the
Yep.
little
Mm-hmm.
there. If I can find another, yeah, that'll work. So this is a Mark 4, I think it was. Yeah, Mark 4. So you can see there's a Dagger one. That's the transmission aerial, and these ones on the side are the receiver ones. And so if you can imagine in the back, there you go. In the back, you've got the navigator, and he's got the radar set. He's looking at the radar set, and you've got two circular dials. One of them is the vertical, and the other one is the horizontal. So if on the horizontal, you know, you've got the thing that's over here, it's flickering on the side, it's saying it's off to the left. And on the one that's on the vertical, if it's flickering at the top, then it's above you, or it's flickering below, it's below you. And so they would use that to home in, and then, you know, they got up behind them and they could see the flame dampers going off, and, you know, and see the planes and then shoot them down.
Yeah.
But what happens is, John Cunningham, he couldn't say, well, we got the super secret technology called airborne interception, and we can, you know, it's radar, you know. They
Yeah.
couldn't say that because it was like, you know, you get shot for saying things like that.
Exactly.
You know, that's top secret stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, I eat carrots. They help me see in the dark. They're good for your eyesight.
So it's a total miss to cover up some top secret.
Yeah. But the Beaufighter was used in all sets. I mean, you know, it was used in North Africa to shoot tanks and planes and all sorts of things. It was used in the Far East by the Australians. The Americans used them as a night fighter, including going into France. So after D-Day. They were used for, and they would have like swarms of them, like 30 aircraft going after shipping convoys, and they'd carry torpedoes, you know, a couple of bombs on the wings. It was so versatile, and in the end, the only thing that you know, effectively the German aircraft became so fast that it was too big and heavy, and that's when the Mosquito took over.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've got models of these. I've got several of them.
Nice.
I've got, I think it's about 8 kits. I did have 10, but I sold 1 or 2. One of the ones I've got is actually like this, a green Australian one. You know, they served them in Malta. This is one in North Africa.
Nice.
So that's Malta.
Malta.
You know, and Malta is the only island that is the only place that got the Victoria Cross.
Okay.
Really?
Outstanding bravery. Yeah, Malta fought on for years alone. You know, it was hard to get convoys in to get fuel and things like that. and they would send up Spitfires to shoot down the German bombers that were coming day after day after day.
Wow.
Because it was in the middle of the Mediterranean, so the
Yeah,
Italians
like
were going after the Germans.
uh,
It was incredible what they fought for and what they achieved. This is North Africa. There's a kid tomahawk there in the background.
nice.
So-
Where in North Africa is it? Is that in Malta or is that like elsewhere in North Africa?
It's in the
Oh no,
Mediterranean.
that'll be like Libya or somewhere.
Oh, nice.
But there is an interesting one. In fact, that's the picture that you have.
Yeah.
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 You have so many cool pictures, Laura. I mean,
I'm a
we could
collector.
seriously just sit and talk for hours.
Yeah, this is a model. This is a Tamiya one, but I'm
You
trying to find a
collect
picture of Mark
them.
II. Is that a Mark II? No.
Another aircraft.
Well, I just want to finish off this last thing on the Beaufighter. The engine, it flew with the Hercules engines, with the Mark I, which is what this is here, because you can tell with the flat tail planes. And the Mark VI has, dihedral ones. But there was a worry about supply of engines because they weren't sure that if the Bristol factory was bombed, then they wouldn't be able to make any more Beaufighters and the aircraft that the engines came from.
Yeah.
Other aircraft the engines were fitted to. So they decided that they would, have different and try different engines. And they had this one, which is a Mark II. And this has the Merlin engine off the Spitfire. And you would think that would make it better. But actually it wasn't. So unlike something like the Mustang with the Allison engines, and then they put the Merlin on it, it went from being a great fighter to being an awesome fighter.
Wow.
The Beaufighter, it had, because the engines are so far forward and the center of gravity is a little odd, the Beaufighter was more likely to crash on takeoff and landing at low speed because the back end would wiggle around.
Okay.
Whereas when they put the Mark II on it, it made the problem worse. And I think the reason is because if we look at the Hercules engine, you can see there's quite a lot of stuff above because it's a radial engine. So the end, if you can see the center line for the propeller is right down through the center of the wing. And so there's stuff above and stuff below. But with the Merlin engine ones, you can see the center line is fairly flat on the top, and then the bottom it all hangs out. All the gubbins is on below, and I think that change in the gravity made the problem worse.
Wow.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, one of the places where it succeeded quite well was in the Far East, in like Burma, and it was like so hot and humid there that they ended up replacing the mosquitoes that went out there with the Beaufighter because the mosquitoes were coming apart because the glues that they used to hold it together, because it was basically made out of wood, it kept peeling off because the glue wasn't holding, and so they had to sort that problem out. So the Beaufighters replaced them for a while.
Nice.
Okay.
Much.
And one last thing about the Beaufighter. It was the most heavily armed fighter of World War II. It had 4 20mm cannon, Hispano cannons underneath, 6 machine guns in the wings, and a little one on the back for the navigator.
Yeah. I mean, okay, my next 2 favorite aircraft are the P-38, and I mean it's just the most awesome aircraft. I'm sorry.
38 Mustang.
No, that's no. P-38 is the twin boom
Yeah,
one.
I just think it looks cool, but it was also one of the most effective fighters of the war, and the only American fighter that was in production before the start of the war and continued production until the end of the war. And the other one was an aircraft that never got the due it was deserved. Is the B-61 Black Widow, which was a twin-engine night fighter.
It did get
Um,
to get used. It was used in Europe.
Oh, it was. They wanted to use it, but they couldn't. Like the turret rings and everything, the turret components.
Yeah, the turret was
Um,
the overhead turret wasn't very good.
no, it
yeah.
was an amazing overhead turret. Just it's the same turret that every U.S. heavy and medium bomber use.
Mhm.
So like the turrets went to the bombers, not to the night fighters, but it was radar equipped.
No. I've got one, and I did a fair bit of research on it. What happened was that there was a horrible turbulence problem, and it killed the speed, and that was what was most important at the time. So they basically stuck some wood over the top of it temporarily, and then by the time it got out to the Far East against Japanese, it didn't really get to do much before it ended. So
It did have the last aerial kill of the war.
Nice.
A maneuvering kill on a zero, actually.
Yeah, I just need to say,
Oh, I just want to finish that. Yeah, what I read is that because the turret rings were prioritized for the bombers, because you can have that, or you can have like we have other fighters. We need B-7 and B-25. No, I said I did say that B-25s were on plus, which was actually they were. I can't remember numbers. Anyways, they had
B-25 is the Mitchell. Yeah. Okay. Catch you later.
Bye. Yeah. So yeah, I'm about done. But anyways, they used the same turret construction for like every other aircraft, and they were getting sent to the other aircraft. I think their fix was just to modify the turret a bit and make it fix forward firing because it work otherwise anyways.
Yeah.
But but yeah, like it extremely high speed for an aircraft its size. Radar equipped night fighter, 420 millimeter cannons, 420 millimeter machine guns, and a really, really, and actually a good range, and a really, and just the second coolest designed plane in the war after the T-38.
It's an interesting design, yeah. There is an interesting thing about it as well. The Beaufighter was painted black in Special Night, is the color it's called, and it's an ultra matte black.
Yeah.
However, for the P-61 Black Widow, although the first ones came out in olive drab, the main color they went for was and they went for a high gloss black.
Okay.
And in fact that was better, because when you've got cloudy skies over Germany and you got the spotlights shining up there, well, what you'll end up is this matte black plane being shown over under this gray sky. Whereas the German ones, they used sort of a pale grey mottled colour for their night fighters, which was quite effective. And like I say, the American Black Widow, they used a high gloss one, and that was hard to see. And the only thing I can think of is that the reflection, coming off the aircraft was about the same colour as the sky above.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if it deflects the light instead of just sending it, so just absorbing it, then I can definitely seeing effective. Yeah, they they really, I think, must have been Battle of Britain, which they were apparently effective. But there was like all of like
Mm.
um the problem with my second two favorite planes is that you could build a Hellcat for you could build two Hellcats uh for a Lightning 38, or you could
Mm.
build like three of them if you find an extra engine somewhere, uh, for like a P61. So they were just too expensive to make in mass numbers. Like the
Mm.
P38 could have easily. People are always going on about how the P51, was the plane for escort, for escorting bombers. Like because it could actually reach Berlin. Well, the P38, I think it had a longer range. It's
Yeah.
just used a lot more gas, and it also requires a lot more maintenance, and it's just more expensive to build because it's a heavy twin engine fighter. As
There is an interesting thing about the P-51. Effectively, there's a lie that became true over time. And if you got to write an essay, you take like two or three sources and you try to sort of, you'll end up with this amount of text and you'll turn it into that amount of text.
yeah,
So what happened was when the P-51 was first built for the British as a high altitude fighter, escort fighter. But what happened was when it got to high altitude, the Allison engines they just ran out of oxygen, and they just wouldn't perform very well. So they'd cough and splutter at the high altitude. So the Royal Air Force went, yeah, these really aren't suitable for the job. And so eventually they ended up putting and the reason for this is that the supercharger on on the American small fighters, it took a while for the technology to evolve. And so well, because of air races and things like that, the Merlin engine, they'd had a head start in that, like 10 years before the war, or the early 30s at least. Whereas the Americans, the Allison engines, like the P38, had big engines, and they had big superchargers, so there was enough room to do it. But when it came to a small fighter, miniaturizing the technology, they just hadn't got a handle of it at that point. So what they did was they put the Merlin engine on, and that already had a great supercharger. So as a result, it took a good airplane and made it a great airplane.
yeah,
And the lie is that unless it's got a Merlin engine, it's rubbish. Well, that's not true at all. The Allison engine Mustangs flew throughout the war, shooting trains and medium altitude things. It just, when it came to the original purpose as a high altitude escort fighter, it wasn't so good. But at medium and low altitude, it was phenomenal. Nothing wrong with it.
yeah.
So, like I say,
I have
effectively,
actually heard people who float kind of say it was like it other than it didn't really have anything special.
mm,
Oh, like there were people who were like, yeah, it could be more. No, it's a good all around fighter though. Apparently, there wasn't a whole lot special. But yeah,
well,
I
I mean, it
mean,
was fast. That was one of the main things. The main thing about it is that
it's fast.
it was fast and it could climb out at high altitude, so it would outperform, the ME-109s, even the Gs, and
Yeah.
the Focke-Wulf 190s.
Well,
So it was a great aircraft.
interesting thing is that apparently A-20 are outmaneuvering them,
Mm.
and that is a plane that you do not want to be in front of.
No, no. I mean, not only that, of course, they served into Vietnam, didn't they?
Yeah, they served into. Yeah, they were using them as gunships because they have all of the guns. They were eventually replaced by Dragonfly.
Don't know.
Like I'm telling you, the the A10. Okay, the Warthog has nothing on this thing. As far as guns pointing forward, the A10 just has one big tank busting gun. Yeah, sure, that's cool.
Well, that's not
Um,
quite true. I mean, it's got Hellfire rockets, you know, and
well, I did
several other
specify
things.
guns.
Yeah,
I did specify gun. Okay, but this is also a medium bomber, so it can carry all that stuff too,
yeah.
or at least the time equivalents. Let's see, eight 50 caliber M2 Browning machine guns.
Mm.
Those, eight 50 caliber machine guns paired in underwing pods. Two uh, 2 machine guns, 250 cals in remote controlled turrets, in a remote controlled dorsal turret, and 2 more in a remote controlled ventral turret. So that's what, 8, 6. That this thing is armed with 20 machine guns.
Mm.
And yeah, it is. If I would recommend you go look it up and see if you
Oh
find
yeah, yeah.
the
I'm
solid
familiar with
gun
the
note.
A10.
I can't show it,
I
or
know.
I would.
Yeah.
But the front of this thing is just made of guns.
Oh yeah.
And it was a very, very capable aircraft otherwise, like the thing. Yeah, oh, it could also carry 10 120 rockets.
Hmm.
Um and up to 6. Oh no, I end up to 6,000 pounds, or 4,000 pounds if I guess it has rockets, of bombs.
Yeah.
This, and they probably could have easily modified it to drop, airdrop torpedoes if they were, because this aircraft is like insane. This
Mm.
aircraft is like stupidly well built. The biggest problem with them, is that they the wings are like just bolted onto the first.
Mm.
So in Vietnam, because it's a World War II aircraft, and it can actually outmaneuver some of the less maneuverable fighters at the time. Now, I don't know if they're talking about BF-110s,
Hmm.
or if they're talking about like some of the random weird, they built 40 of them aircraft that Germany had,
Oh yeah,
or
I
if
got
they're talking
confused.
about, or if they're talking about, like, I mean,
262s,
no,
109s,
yeah, 109s or Focke-Wulf
190s.
190.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't know what it said they were outmaneuvering them, but these things are just these things are just absurd. Um, so yeah,
It's
they
actually quite funny because I've actually got an A10 Warthog just up there that I was working on
yeah,
because I do model airplanes, so I've got a wall full of them
yep,
above.
nice. Yeah,
Um,
this thing's not gonna
do you know,
blow up.
that the A10 shares the same engines as the Viking, the anti-submarine warfare aircraft?
Doesn't surprise me. Well,
Mm.
the A26 and the P,
Yeah.
I just no. Is it the
Was it double wasps or no?
double wasps? Yeah. What was the medium bomber that could um Was
What was
it
the
the
Boston,
was
the
it the
Marauder, and the
Mitchell?
Mitchell?
Was it the Mitchell or the Marauder that could carry the like 75 millimeter gun or whatever?
Oh, yeah, that'll be the Marauder. No, sorry, the Mitchell. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Mitchell had this big crazy gun on it. There's another one as well that had it, a big gun like that, which was the the 129. What's it called? Not Heinkel.
Aerocobra or
Feisler. The Feisler FI 129, and that had a big scary gun as well. I'm trying to remember what it was now.
well, it definitely wasn't the 56.
Uh, no, not Feisler. Then what was it called? Um,
No, but it's definitely not Feisler.
Henschel 129.
Oh, Heinkel.
No, Henschel. Um, 75 millimeter M4 cannon.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That is
Um,
this.
what's more hilarious? It had a really small engine. It wasn't a fantastic plane. It wasn't very fast. It was great for anti-aircraft, anti-tank stuff. But the by late 1942, reports were coming in about the ineffectiveness of the Mark 101, so the MK 101 guns against the newer versions of the Soviet T-34 tanks. One obvious solution was to fit a larger 33.7 centimeter 0.146 inch BK 37 recently adopted from the ground-based Flak 8. So it had a flat gun.
Yeah. Well, the Germans um used a lot of the Germans did actually use a lot of their flak guns for anti-tank. Like the 88 was a, and then when they started putting that thing at tanks, it wrecked everything. Um. So yeah, like I guess the thing about a flak gun is that it probably has a very high velocity. So if you stick a big heavy shell in that and shoot it at something, it's going to have a lot of penetration.
Not only are they going to have a bit of penetration, you've actually got to go a little bit faster because the recoil slows you down.
Yeah. What is that? Now I can't remember the name of the plane. Um,
It's not a very good photo. It's on in Wikipedia, but there's the Henschel 129 with the stupidly large gun.
yeah.
And the cockpit for this aircraft was so small. It was such a tiny cockpit that the dials for the engine are actually on the engine pods.
Wow.
So you look out through the cockpit window to read the engine uh, instruments.
That is kind of insane.
Yeah, it's a funny little, fun little one. I've got a model of two. I've got two models of them. Although I've got one on my wall in the back bedroom, and I've got another one that's in a cupboard. But I think I can't remember if I got rid of it or not. I might have done. I've been selling off my model airplane kits because I just run out of. I know that I'm not going to get them done in time. So, and just so you can see what I mean about on the wall.
Oh, nice.
So 4 Tomcats there, Viking.
Awesome.
15.
Is that a phantom? At
No.
the end there.
Oh, it's no, it's not. It's a raven.
Blue one?
The one at the back. On the
No, I
other
mean,
side, further away from the black one, it's a raven. It's the EF-111.
yeah, I actually don't have enough. What is the black one?
The which one? The black one. Oh, that's just a B-57. Canberra.
Okay. Okay. It almost looked like one of the early American
Oh yeah.
jet fighters. Like, yeah.
So.
Okay. Nope, not the. Okay, I think I've almost found it.
Are you watching your own live stream?
Yes.
Me too. So there's you and me watching.
Okay.
So
let me just.
Whoever that what the one person was, they're not watching anymore. I think we probably bored them off.
Probably. Oh well. Let me see. I want to see also. I searched for this. It didn't come up. And, oh really? That's it? Okay, never mind. I thought it had a bigger gun. No, I'm not. Am I still on the? No. Okay, I thought it had a bigger gun. It's only 37 millimeters, but the King Cobra had a pretty big gun for a fighter.
Well, it went through the prop, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would have been good for shooting down bombers. Probably not much else.
And something is worth pointing out. So one of the things that I've got an interest in is night fighters in particular, and both British, American, and German for that matter, because it's worth pointing out that yes, the ideology of the Nazis was awful and dreadful in every way you can think of, but when it comes to servicemen fighting for their country and things like that, okay, well, if if they're attacking another country, okay, not cool. When they're defending their own country, I don't really have such a hard time with that, and so I can appreciate the night fighters who are having to try and stop the bombers, knowing that they're not going to succeed in getting them all, obviously, but at least trying. And and even some things have to be sort of bared in. You have to bear some things in mind. I'm not an apologist for people doing bad things, but there are also people who do bad things that actually did good things as well. I mean, even Hitler loved his dog. But and I mean, and talking about Hitler, a perfect example. Before he went crazy, he was a corporal in the German army, and he was a courier, and that was one of the most dangerous jobs around. He ended up finishing the war in a hospital after being gassed. So, like I say, it's not like I think he's a hero or anything, but he was pretty brave. But afterwards, he just became a psychotic lunatic, blaming everybody, especially the Jews. But I mean, I've got a book across the way. Let me just go and grab it. Night Fighting. German Night Fighting. So I've got this book here, which is pretty good. And so for British, American, night fighters, they might be really effective and end up with 8 kills, 10 kills, 12 kills, things like that. Day fighters might have 10 or 20 or something like that, whereas other ones can have an insane amount because they've got to concentrate. I mean, when it came to night fighters, the ones patrolling Britain, well, once D-Day happened, there really wasn't anything coming over. Even from 1942 onwards, it became not as much. The rates dropped. But just to give you an example, the leading night fighter ace of World War II is was a guy called Heinz Wolfgang Schnaufer, and he had 121 kills. That's insane an amount.
Well, there's a few things, right? Like the Americans and the British, right, would have rotated him out long before he had that many kills in his face. And that's what, and the Germans didn't have that option, especially as the war went on, because they didn't have people to put in, they didn't have ability to train people to take over. Well, either people were off combat duty or on or doing other things, right? Because that's what they did. One of my favorite movies is Bell. That was the last required mission sortie for the crew, and it turned out to be a very bad one for them and the plane itself, but they all made it. So they would have rotated people out. Like there probably could have been there probably could have been way way more kills, especially as the war went on in Japan. It's just that they're like, okay, good, you're done, go home, rest, you'll come back later, maybe get the new guy in here. Okay, good. Right? And the new guy has already been like really well trained, just waiting for deployment. So yeah.
I mean, here's a picture of Schnaufer's tail. Look how many.
That's quite a bit.
Full of things that has been shot down.
And I mean, like, there's a few, there's a couple of, especially in the Air Force. Who is that guy that actually escorted the badly damaged B-17 home? Because he was out.
There's the Memphis Belle one, of course, but
no, it wasn't. It wasn't Memphis Belle.
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name. I don't feel like looking it up. So his CO at the start of the war told him that if he ever shot at a bailed out pilot, or that his CO would shoot him himself, and that gave him he also wasn't very horrible. He was just a soldier doing his job, but he he come across this barely flying B-17, right? And he tried to tell them, go. He was trying to get them land somewhere neutral, like Scotland, or bail out or whatever. They weren't shooting at him. He eventually just escorted them out of German territory and let them go.
Yeah.
Because the plane was never flying again. And, he saw that firing at the completely defenseless, barely flying plane would be the same as shooting down, pilots who failed out of their fighters.
Yeah.
So basically, the plane wasn't a threat. The plane wasn't going to be flying again anytime soon. So it's just shooting at defenseless people, and he wouldn't do it. There was another really good pilot, and he was said to be like I can't remember his either, but he died when his probably a BF 109 randomly just spontaneously busted. Probably from bad oil, probably from bad synthetic oil. Going into a super high performance German engine. I think it is, but he died from a fire. But he was apparently a really good dude.
The thing about it is, if you hit the fuel tank, the pilot was dead in a 109 because the pilot sat on top of the fuel tank.
Ew.
So yeah, if that plane caught fire, that was it. You were literally.
Wow.
Here's an interesting little bit for you. Do you know what Shrug music is?
No.
So the night fighters. So during the day, you had all the B-17s going. The Americans coming from Britain, going over to Germany and bombing. Carpet bombing. And at night, the British did it. Well, the British, unlike the B-17 and the 24, the Lancasters didn't have a lower turret.
Right.
It was the one place where they were defenseless. And so what happened was the night fighters, they had a system of machine guns that fired upwards.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks like. You can see there it is on the real thing, and but and so they fly underneath and just they wouldn't know anything until there's just bullets flying through their aircraft.
Yeah.
And that's something that's worth pointing out. And it's something I got from a book called Night Fighter by C.F. Rawnsley, who was John Cunningham's navigator, radar operator. And one of the things that it said in there was that, about pilot fatigue. That, after doing this for months, every night for months, you might have a weekend away, a weekend off for, once a month or something. But, you were doing this day after day after day after day after day. The Germans were coming every night, bombing London, bombing different places, other cities. So this is constantly going on. And it said in the book that, they almost felt like they were cowards because, they just the day after it, they got pilot fatigue, and they needed a bit of time, a month off or something. And there was a guilt there because it's like people are dying. Planes are coming over and they were bombing the targets and they weren't in a plane shooting them down. And it was really interesting to read people saying like that, because there's an old thing, sort of airmen, usually a lot of testosterone in there, whatever, that it's a blokey thing, and you don't talk about weaknesses, you only talk about your strengths, because if you think about weaknesses, that it becomes more of a thing. And so it was really interesting and all those years that I've read about planes and seen them, and even flown one, it had always been about the machine, not the person in the machine. The person in the machine always seemed to be, the secondary thing. And so having a pilot's view of something, that was interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, one of my favorite YouTubers, Drakenifel, did a more personal account of thinking of I can't remember what it was. I suck tonight. Let's see. Oh, how do I get out of there? I'll just the video he did last. Of course, I haven't seen it. Oh yeah, he did a wonderful. I still haven't been able to finish watching it, but he did a wonderful Battle of Tsushima uh, account from the Russian side. That's um, oh, I don't know if I don't think that she was actually sunk, but it was HMS Agamemnon. Of course, there are several ships named HMS Agamemnon. So we're talking about the 64 gun Agamemnon that was Admiral Nelson's favorite, apparently.
I actually think I've got the story.
Yeah, it was that. I definitely recommend checking out Agamemnon. Okay, I recommend checking out Rekinefel. Great, but let you find what you're finding.
Yeah, I'm just finding that John Cunningham one. Yeah, this is it, I think. And this is Chisholm. I need my lamp. I'm getting tired and I need more light one. think this is it. Yeah, okay. Let me just take a drink. Okay. On the night of April the 3rd, Cunningham, who had been recently awarded the DFC, Distinguished Flying Cross, and Rawnsley were the last of 6 of 4 squadrons waved to get airborne. On checking in with Starlight, which is the ground controllers, they immediately received a vector towards a homeward bound bandit at 10,000 feet. It soon appeared on Rawnsley Tinesy scope at a range of just over a mile. He brought it. He took over to bring the Beaufighter in behind the bomber, just 2,000 feet away. At that point, Cunningham acquired it visually, and in spite of a violent thunderstorm, he closed in, as Rawnsley later described. John brought the gun sight onto the target and then opened fire, and almost at once the whole sky ahead of us seemed to dissolve into flame. Every slot and chink in the hull was hit by the lurid glow of sea from our exploding Heinkel as we ploughed through it. It looked like our starboard quarter, and there I saw a terrible sight. The shattered Heinkel, with only one wing left, spinning vertically down, spewing out of it a helix of burning petrol. On April the 7th, became the first pilot to achieve 5 victories with a Beaufighter. The next night, with Rawnsley, he was patrolling at 50,000 feet as GCI, ground control interception, was overloaded. They received permission to freelance. Heading out towards some searchlights, they gained an AI contact, airborne interception radar contact to the left at about below at about 8,000 feet. As it crossed, Rawnsley instructed his pilot to make a starboard turn and dive. The curving profile brought them behind us, unsuspecting Heinkel 111. It was hit and damaged, but successfully evaded the attacker. The crew, searching for another, soon gained a contact on a homeward bound Heinkel. They caught up with it over Bournemouth. Rawnsley brought his pilot in. Going visual, Cunningham close to about 80 yards before sending a devastating burst of 20mm cannon fire. It struck the belly of the bomber, which fell away and crashed. The 25 Squadron also broke its duck on the 9th when Sergeant Bennett took off from Wittering and shot down an enemy Junkers 88. The 604 Squadron's patch also remained busy, and they continued to claim regularly. Cunningham brought down another Heinkel 111 on the 11th, and he watched it as he wanted to hit the ground. His omen comment was, "Good, that'll teach him to crack nuts in church." A few days later, April 16th, Cunningham confers his and Rawnsley's preeminent status when the pair brought down 3 Heinkel 111s. It'd been an outstanding night, and soon afterwards he was just awarded the Distinguished Service Order, I think that is, DSO, and Rawnsley a DFM, Distinguished Flying Medal. Further north, 29 Squadron was busy, but when it moved to West Malling in Kent, right in front of the incoming raids of London, enjoying immediate success. Guy Gibson brought down a Heinkel, as he recorded in his long book. One destroyed, a lucky burst. It blew up. Another did the same before I could open fire. And Guy Gibson, of course, is the guy who led the Dam Busters raid.
Yeah. He is. And that was definitely a cool achievement. I think that I'm really tired, and I think I'm tired though. Could probably call it a show.
Yeah.
I can barely think, anyways. So yeah, everybody, that's it for this one. Thanks for listening to us. If you're watching this later, if there's actually people watching it, I'm not even looking at the screen. And I don't even know. I was going to do something. I don't want to do it now for next week. So I'll probably figure that out like tomorrow. So yeah, that's it for this one, and have a good one, eh?
Bye.